Right now, on to the point. Election reform. As President Trump is expected to address the nation about new election intelligence, tonight what Steve Hilton is telling us about this election cycle. Making more housing faster and more affordable. What Governor Newsom just signed into law.
It's not safe.
No, it is not. It is definitely not acceptable.
Concerns over cell service in a growing community and what solutions may be coming. And a major update is giving more Californians access to mobile driver's licenses, how it could make DMV services easier. The race for California governor is continuing to take shape, with elections and voter trust among the issues expected to play a major role this November. As always, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. Republican Steve Hilton is weighing in tonight on the issue just hours after President Trump announced that he will address the nation this week, with sources telling ABC News the president plans to detail new intelligence he received related to the 2020 election.
I think it's really important that we have trust in elections.
California gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton sitting down with ABC 10 on Monday discussing the election process.
I think that there are things we need to do to improve the way elections work in California, not least how long it takes to get the result. And so I think there's lots of rules that we should change in California. The number one, the most important, is voter ID. A
ballot measure headed to California voters this November would require voters to provide identification when casting ballots, among other changes to the state's voting process. Supporters, including Steve Hilton, say the proposal would strengthen election security.
Voter ID is going to be on the ballot here in California, and I think that's a really important change we can make to reassure people that we're making sure that as many people vote as possible, but only people who are eligible should vote.
Opponents argue it could create barriers to voting. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Javier Becerra had this to say last month about election reform.
I'm against voter suppression. I'm against anything that would try to limit a Californian's right to vote. I'm against something that it's a solution in search of a problem.
While sources tell ABC News President Trump will address the nation this week about new intelligence in the 2020 election, we also asked Hilton how he would respond to California voters who have concerns about claims of voter fraud in this election cycle.
We wanted to make sure that, not least to our supporters, that everything was fine and there's nothing to be concerned about. And we didn't see anything to be concerned about, to be honest. So as far as I've got total confidence in the elections that just happened. As I say, I think we can improve the process so we get a quicker result. But in terms of the integrity of the election, I think it's, I certainly haven't questioned what we've seen just now in California, and I'm looking forward to a very good election with a high turnout in November.
And I also asked Steve Hilton about the upcoming Republican National Convention. He says that he has been invited to attend, but his campaign is weighing whether he can fit it into his existing schedule as he is focusing on campaigning here in California ahead of that November election. All right, tonight, Congress's bipartisan housing bill is now officially law. It took effect over the weekend without President Trump's signature. Now, Trump, who initially supported the bill to help lower housing costs, later opposed it. He urged Congress to instead prioritize the Save America Act, which would require proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. That bill appears to be stalled in Congress. This morning, Governor Gavin Newsom signed legislation making it easier to finance affordable housing projects. Advocates say that they hope this bill makes home building cheaper and quicker. ABC 10 political reporter Jenny Hutt joined the governor out in Oakland today.
Get this done. Cost of housing, and it's not complicated. It's supply demand. It's Econ 101. We need to build more damn housing, and we need to lower the cost of construction.
Governor Newsom Monday morning signing another budget trailer bill, this time on affordable housing. Assembly Bill 179 seeks to prohibit, waive, or reduce what's known as development or impact fees.
Because it started to get a little abusive, the impact fees. I mean, become candidly usurious. It makes it quite literally impossible to develop an affordable unit.
Impact fees are what local municipalities charge to new residential developments, including affordable housing projects, to account for potential costs for facilities and infrastructure like parks, public safety, and transportation. Experts say these fees can add up to $20,000 to $30,000 more per unit.
When applied to affordable housing, these fees increase per unit subsidies and redirect limited public resources away from building affordable housing, reducing the amount of housing that can ultimately be built.
To local governments that don't comply, a warning message.
But all the state-funded programs, if you want state funding, you want $1, you want $200, you want $200 million, no local impact fees then.
And to streamline the allocation of that state funding, the bill also codifies Newsom's restructuring of various state housing departments into one umbrella to emphasize not only housing, but also homelessness, the California Housing and Homelessness Agency. Newsom calls it a one-stop shop.
What does that mean? You reduce bureaucracy, you increase access and transparency. That drives down costs, drives down the time to a project.
How much time, how much money, how much bureaucratic hurdles they face in order to complete the financing stacking to get to this point.
Janelle Chan, helping to lead the Oakland Chinatown Senior Housing Project, says she knows firsthand the challenges navigating state funding.
Affordable housing is how we are able to keep our culture, our people still here in Oakland. I think we applied for like 20 different applications, and this particular building, it has 12 different funding sources. 8 of them are from the state.
And on homelessness, $900 million will be allocated to cities and counties under the Homeless Housing and Assistance Program. Jenny He, ABC 10.
As a local community grows tonight, a group of neighbors out in West Roseville worry that growth is outpacing cell service. They emailed to the point saying that they spent more than a year reaching out to the city of Roseville, wireless service providers, and also state regulators looking for answers. ABC 10's Becca Hobegger spoke with them and joins us now with a closer look tonight.
Yeah, Alex, pretty much everyone with a cell phone has experienced the frustration of a dropped call or finding yourself in a patch of spotty service when trying to send a message. It can be inconvenient at best and dangerous at worst. The West Roseville neighbors I spoke with today say it is a daily struggle.
Here at Heritage Solaire, a 55-plus gated community on the western edge of Roseville, residents have plenty of amenities, but not reliable cell service.
Where we're just sitting there, I had 2 bars, and just coming into the gate, I dropped down to 1.
Ken Mendelson and his neighbor Kate Rosenlieb lead a group of residents concerned about what they call dangerously bad service.
I have an elderly mom who depends on me, and she doesn't live here. So I need to be able to communicate with her and her caregivers and her doctors on a regular basis. And many, many times I've had calls drop when I'm on the phone with a caregiver or a doctor. And it's not safe.
She says she has invested more than $1,000 on an antenna and booster just to get better cell service in her own house. Ken, too.
Since I put mine in, I no longer have drop calls in my home. However, if I go outside my home, all bets are off.
Ken has AT&T, Kate, Verizon. They say all carriers have issues.
We use the 3 major ones, Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T. They all agree there's a problem here.
Neighbors invited the companies to meet with residents and test the service strength, which the companies have done.
We've talked to the carriers, we've talked to the city, we've talked to the CPUC, and we're going to keep talking and raising awareness. There is not the opportunities that some people at the city think there is for future cell phone tower availability out here. The cell phone providers will tell you there's no landowners willing to allow cell phone towers to go on their land out here.
Roseville is still very much developing. Kate and Ken say they're searching for solutions not only for themselves, but also for future residents who will move here.
Maybe this is going to be too late to help our neighborhood, but maybe these future neighborhoods will have better opportunities.
They want to see the city require developers to include plans for adequate cell service and infrastructure as they build new neighborhoods.
They did such a great job planning, but not on cell phone service.
Kate and Ken say no current or planned towers and cell service arrays in their area are powerful or close enough to provide reliable service, and worry the problem will only grow as more people move here.
It's not going to help us.
I shared neighbors' concerns with the city of Roseville, which responded in a statement. Telecommunication facilities are allowed in every zoning district within the city of Roseville, but laws limit local government authority over cell towers. Ultimately, it is the wireless carrier's decision whether to propose a tower in any area of the city. The city of Roseville remains committed to listening to residents, sharing community concerns with wireless providers, and doing everything within its authority to help facilitate solutions. We will continue to be an advocate for our community. I reached out to the 3 big wireless service providers. Since this involves multiple carriers, Verizon pointed me to CTIA, a national trade group representing the wireless communications industry. I did not hear back from them by deadline. AT&T says it has invested more than $14 billion into its network in California over the past 5 years, more than 1.2 of which is in the Sacramento Valley. Adding, in part, "We understand the community's concerns and we continue to work with residents and the city to identify potential solutions to improve wireless service." T-Mobile acknowledged my request but did not provide a statement by deadline.
We did end up hearing from T-Mobile, and we'll have their statement on our website. Now, should wireless service providers be subject to service standards? The California Public Utilities Commission, CPUC, wants to hear what you think. Providers of wired communication, including landlines, are subject to minimum service standards. The CPUC, which regulates telecommunications in the state, told me when I reached out today it currently has an open proceeding to decide whether those standards should apply to wireless carriers as well. How you can weigh in is at abc10.com/links. Alex.
All right, Becca, thank you. And I do want to mention this group of neighbors actually reached out to us after our special on West Roseville and what's being done to keep up with the demand in this area. You can stream that special right now on the free ABC 10 app. Still ahead, the sudden death of Lindsey Graham. What happens now to his seat in Congress? And gas prices are climbing again as tensions escalate with Iran. A closer look at the issue.
And we don't often show active radar in July, but that's what we've got. Some light showers in the valley and a storm near Tahoe. Full look at the forecast after the break.
But first, another headlines tonight. The California Democratic Party officially endorsed Javier Becerra for governor. Becerra came out of the primary as the top vote getter among the field of gubernatorial candidates, earning more than 2.5 million votes statewide. A federal immigration officer shot and killed a driver in Maine today, marking the country's second fatal ICE-related shooting in less than a week. The Maine Immigrants' Right Coalition said a 26-year-old Colombian man who was authorized to work in the U.S. died. State officials and the FBI are investigating the incident. And a federal judge says President Trump acted in bad faith and tried to manipulate the judicial process in a lawsuit against the IRS. The lawsuit led to an attempt to create the now defunct $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. The judge criticized both Trump and the Justice Department, calling their actions improper, and ordered sanctions against the private attorneys who filed the case. Trump's legal team disputes the ruling, saying the lawsuit was meant to hold people accountable.
Welcome back in. A storm is brewing up in the Sierra. Taking a live look at Lake Tahoe, you can see the gray, cloudy skies there. A little ominous compared to what we were looking at last week when everyone was at the beach, right, Brendan? And you are kind of tracking this. I know that the weather's looked drastically different from last Friday for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a bunch of monsoon moisture coming in, and I know that we all notice the moisture because it has felt very sticky out there across Northern California, not just in the high country, but in the valley as well. So here's a look at that storm. 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts, heavy rain, some lightning with this thunderstorm, and perhaps some small hail with it. Again, you saw that storm from the camera there as it's currently moving right across the lake. The lake is here. Right here, bounded between obviously 267 and 89 and then South Lake Tahoe on the south side. So the center of the storm is right over the water, but it's about to move over the North Lake area and off towards Truckee. So again, the stronger thunderstorm that we are watching moving off to the north. But as we zoom out here, still plenty of cloud coverage across the valley. Some very light showers possible out through parts of Napa and Lake counties, maybe Yolo County as well. But it's all just very, very light. We had a few showers, not even showers necessarily. You can hardly call them sprinkles. A few sprinkles even in the ABC 10 parking lot early this afternoon, but that was it. Just a little bit of some drops of water and done. We're moving on. So not a ton of moisture out there, not enough to make it rain in the valley for very long, but certainly it's felt very sticky. 90 right now in Sacramento, 95 in Stockton, 93 in Modesto, 50s to 70s in the high country because of that thunderstorm that's moving through. Current relative humidity is about 20 to 40% across the valley. At times this afternoon, it was about 40 to 60%. So it's not quite as humid out there now as it has been, but certainly still is stickier than usual. 90 degrees and still plenty cloudy as we look towards the Tower Bridge. Temperatures are not going to drop all that much. We'll be in the 80s through about 10 o'clock, then even still in the 70s through 2 o'clock in the morning, because Tuesday morning we're starting off in those upper 60s, about 67 Sacramento, 68 Stockton, 71 in Modesto. It's going to be warm with continued opportunities for some Sierra showers. Overnight tomorrow, widespread triple digits. We're going to be about 100 to 105 across the valley. Temps near 80 in the high country with another opportunity for showers and isolated thunderstorms along the Sierra Crest and down the eastern slope. High pressure stays off to our east, but as it backs up a little bit as we get to the weekend, temperatures are going to stay seasonal in the mid to upper 90s, but it's going to bring us another push of that tropical moisture. Again, that's going to be towards the weekend. So near 100 Tuesday and Wednesday, between 100 and 105, then seasonal heat and another push of moisture as we go towards the weekend. Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Right after the break, the death of Senator Lindsey Graham, his sister stepping in to fill his seat. And California joins a lawsuit to block another mega media merger, why the state says it could hurt competition. South Carolina's governor today appointed Senator Lindsey Graham's sister, Darlene, to serve the remaining 6 months of his term after his sudden death over the weekend. Today, flowers and condolences framed Senator Lindsey Graham's office on Capitol Hill. His seat in the Senate chamber is vacant for the first time since 2003. A special primary election on August 11th will decide who will replace Graham as the Republican nominee for Senate, a term set to begin in January. On Capitol Hill today, colleagues are remembering the senator as a quick-witted and effective politician who loved political debate.
Senator Graham was a very forceful and quick-witted presence in every room that he entered. His warm nature made everyone his friend, and I feel blessed to be one of them.
The halls of the Senate already feel empty without him. And I know I'm not alone in that feeling.
President Trump today remembered Graham as fiercely loyal and a friend. And now to more on his sister, Darlene Graham Norden, who had long supported her brother's political career. After their parents died, Lindsey Graham became her legal guardian, raising her while pursuing his own career. Norden has worked with people with disabilities and is now heading to Washington to represent her brother's interests. And jumping into your price points tonight.
I think that this war is the direct result of why gas prices have risen so skyrocket high. And I hope that things will improve. I hope that it will come to a resolution soon.
Drivers taking another hit in the wallet as gas and oil prices are on the rise again, with growing uncertainty about the Strait of Hormuz. New video shows the U.S. and Iran ramping up attacks against each other again. And Iran's military released this footage saying it showed missiles being launched in response to what is described as U.S. aggressions. Both sides, though, give conflicting information about the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, traffic has been stalled in the key oil passage. Crossings are down 52%. Week over week, according to maritime intelligence company Kepler. In California, a gallon of regular gas, $5.38, according to AAA. California is one of 12 states filing a lawsuit to block Paramount's pending acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery. The antitrust lawsuit kicks off a high-stakes battle that could disrupt the media merger that Paramount has said that it was committed to completing this summer. Paramount issued a statement on the lawsuit saying the deal will create a media company that is better positioned to compete with larger companies and generate premium content. Here is California Attorney General Rob Bonta speaking out today against the merger.
This merger will mean fewer journalists informing the electorate. It'll mean fewer opportunities for Americans to hear the full breadth of information and opinions on a subject and then come to their own conclusions.
Paramount has also pointed out that regulators around the world, including the U.S. Department of Justice, have already approved the merger. Coming up, millions more Californians can now use a mobile driver's license, how a new law aims to modernize the DMV. All right, before we go here, millions of California drivers now have access to mobile driver's licenses. Today, Governor Newsom signed the DMV modernization law. The bill raised the cap on the pilot program from 15% to 60% of the state's licensed drivers. The bill also modernizes DMV operations by streamlining notices, renewals, and paperwork, improving efficiency and reducing costs. As always, thank you so much for watching, for always inviting us into your home. If you have something you think we should be looking into, you already know you can email the team and I at tothepoint@abc10.com. And To The Point does not end here. If you do want to watch stories that are featured on our show, catch up on your news of the day, anything like that, make sure you download our free ABC 10 TV streaming app straight to your TV. Have a great night. I'll see you right back here tomorrow.